What if a country sitting on the world's largest oil reserve found itself unable to fuel its own cars? Imagine it. 303 billion barrels of proven oil. More than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. On paper, an energy superpower. Now erase that picture and look at reality. In this same country, people wait days for gasoline. They sleep in their cars overnight, engines off, hoping a delivery truck will arrive. The government sells fuel for pennies, but there's nothing to buy. And when people finally find fuel, they pay nearly $6 a gallon on the black market. This oil giant now imports fuel from Iran, from Russia. This isn't a poor nation, it's a wealthy nation completely locked out of its own vault. That nation is Venezuela, and this is the story of how its greatest treasure became almost useless. A story of broken machines, vanishing expertise, and a global power shift happening in real time. So here's the question. If the oil is right there, why can't Venezuela simply pump it and use it? The answer starts with chemistry, not politics. Not all oil is equal. Some crude is light, clean, and easy to refine. Venezuela's oil is not that. Its oil is extra heavy crude, thick, tar-like sludge with a gravity of 8.3 API. In some areas, you don't even drill for it, you practically mine it, and this sludge is useless until it's transformed. To become valuable, it must be diluted with lighter fluids or processed through massive industrial plants called upgraders. Upgraders are billion-dollar machines that turn sludge into synthetic crude that refineries can actually use. And here is the heart of Venezuela's crisis. Those upgraders, the lifeline of the entire system, have been failing for 20 years. Without them, those 303 billion barrels are not wealth. They are a burden trapped underground. So how did this collapse begin? The answer leads to PDVSA, once one of the most respected state oil companies in the world. 2 decades ago, the government stopped treating PDVSA as a technical institution and started using it as a political tool. After a massive strike in the early 2000s, the regime fired 20,000 employees. But these weren't ordinary workers. They were the engineers, the chemists, the planners, the people who understood the system. Overnight, Venezuela lost its oil industry's brain. Their replacements were chosen for loyalty, not skill. Maintenance slowed, investment collapsed, pipelines corroded, ports weakened. Upgraders deteriorated year after year. This wasn't mismanagement, it was managed decline. A countdown had begun, and in November 2025, that countdown reached 0. On November 13th, the Muscar gas complex went offline. It supplied 65% of Venezuela's natural gas. And without that gas, specifically the hydrogen extracted from it, upgraders simply cannot function. Days later, disaster struck again. On November 19th and 20th, a massive fire tore through the Petrocideno upgrader, one of the country's most important facilities. This was not an accident. It was the result of decades of ignored maintenance. 50-year-old pipes, unchecked valves, failing safety systems. 2 major failures in 1 week destroyed a huge part of Venezuela's ability to process its own oil. The system didn't fail quietly. It failed with a bang the whole world could see. Normally, a country facing an engineering collapse would call foreign experts and import replacement parts. Venezuela couldn't. Beginning in 2017 and tightening in 2019, the United States imposed powerful sanctions on Venezuela's oil industry. The sanctions blocked access to diluents needed to thin heavy crude. They blocked replacement parts for refineries and upgraders. They scared away international oil companies that had the technology and the money to help. Sanctions didn't cause the original collapse, but they guaranteed it couldn't be repaired. Venezuela was sealed inside its broken machine. With traditional partners gone, the country turned to Iran and Russia. Iran sent tankers of condensate to thin Venezuela's sludge. Iranian engineers helped keep collapsing systems running. Russia stepped in to handle tankers, security, and fuel swaps. But this wasn't rescue, it was trade. Neither Iran nor Russia invested the billions needed to rebuild Venezuela's oil industry. They kept the system alive just enough to extract value. A new dependency had been created, one that prevented total collapse but offered no real solution. And then there is China. While Iran and Russia focused on emergency support, China played a long, strategic game. For more than a decade, China has used a loan for oil system. State banks gave Venezuela billions in cash. In return, Venezuela shipped heavy crude at locked-in, discounted prices. Venezuela received money. China secured long-term resources. But the critical detail is this: none of that money rebuilt PDVSA. None repaired the upgraders. None revived the collapsing infrastructure. China wasn't fixing Venezuela. China was securing its own supply. And while geopolitics shaped the edges of the crisis, ordinary Venezuelans carried the weight at its center. With upgraders failing, usable fuel became scarce. Lines stretched for miles. People waited for days. Black market prices soared. Meanwhile, neglected pipelines leaked constantly. Venezuela became one of the world's worst oil spill hotspots. Lake Maracaibo, once a symbol of national pride, turned into a polluted disaster zone. Daily life became a cycle of exhaustion, environmental destruction, and economic hardship. But this story doesn't end inside Venezuela's borders. The collapse quietly reshapes the global oil map. Many complex refineries, especially in the US Gulf Coast and China, were designed for Venezuela's heavy crude. With that supply collapsing, they now scramble for alternatives from Canada and the Middle East, raising costs and rerouting global shipping patterns. At the same time, Venezuela's desperation solidified its alignment with Iran and Russia, strengthening networks that operate outside the traditional dollar-based system. China expanded its role as a global resource banker, locking in long-term supplies without political entanglement. Every tanker from Iran, every condensate shipment from Russia, every long-term loan from China is a small piece of a new global pattern, one that increasingly bypasses Western influence. Venezuela's internal collapse is accelerating a quiet shift toward a more multipolar world, and the final lesson is the most important. Venezuela proves that natural resources mean nothing without the technology to process them, the expertise to maintain them, the infrastructure to sustain them, and the partnerships to support them. The true power was never the 303 billion barrels underground. It was the upgraders, the engineers, the maintained pipelines, the stable governance, the international cooperation. Venezuela had the treasure, but it lost the keys, and then it broke the lock. Now, other nations hold those keys through sanctions, technology, and strategic deals. This is not just an oil story, it is a blueprint for how a country can lose its greatest strength. Because in the modern world, power doesn't come from what lies underground. It comes from what you can refine, manage, and sustain. The real wealth was never the sludge, it was the capability. And that is the most expensive lesson of all. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.